President Gore, prescription drug prices have skyrocketed, and nothing's been done. George Bush has a plan. Add a prescription drug benefit to Medicare.
Every senior will have access to prescription drug benefits.
And Al Gore? Gore opposed bipartisan reform. He's pushing a big government plan that lets Washington bureaucrats interfere with what your doctors prescribe. The Gore prescription plan, bureaucrats decide. The Bush prescription plan, seniors choose.
Hello everyone, I'm Sophia Tan.
Good morning, I'm Jenna Nilsson.
And welcome to U.S. History News. Republican George W. Bush has just defeated Democrat Albert Gore in the presidential election of 2000. In his campaign, Bush claims that he will withdraw support from international health programs that sanction abortion, advocate federally financed faith-based social welfare initiatives, support oil exploration on the coast of Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, and mandate a $1.3 tax cut which would turn surpluses into deficits.
As estimated $400 billion by 2004.
Bush has also said that he will try to pass a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage. However, many politicians believe that Bush's policies will only further divide America into red and blue, or Democrats versus Republicans.
We've just received breaking news. We have been informed that New York City has just suffered from a devastating terrorist attack this morning. The terrorist attack was directed at the Twin Towers of New York City's World Trade Center, where terrorists had slammed into on 2 hijacked airliners. It has been reported that this attack has killed some 3,000 innocent civilians and hundreds of New York's police and fire department workers. Grieving and stunned citizens have raised their American flags as they expressed their sorrow for both this catastrophic terrorism and the huge number of deaths that occurred on this fateful day, September 11th, 2001.
It appears that there is more and more fire and smoke enveloping the very top of the building. And as fire crews are descending on this area, it does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
You did. That was out.
Yes, and that's the second explosion. You could see the plane come in.
In response to the devastating 9/11 terrorist attack, Bush gave his address to Congress this morning. In his address, Bush targeted Osama bin Laden, the leader of the terrorist network Al-Qaeda, as the main enemy responsible for the horrific attacks. Bin Laden has been reported to have taken refuge in Taliban Afghanistan. The Taliban, however, have refused to give up bin Laden, and thus, Bush has initiated a military campaign against Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Congress has passed the USA Patriot Act, which permits telephone and email surveillance and detention and deportation of immigrants suspected of terrorism. This was created in response to fear produced by the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the death of several Americans after they received letters contaminated with anthrax, which increased concerns about the threats posed by the biological warfare, and the onset of a recession. The Department of Homeland Security will also be created in 2002.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day. Yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you. Good night. And God bless America.
My brother was pilot of American Airlines Flight 77, which was hijacked by terrorists and crashed into the Pentagon. The Patriot Act gives them, our government, the tools to stop them. It's been 4.5 years since 9/11, and we have not been attacked. A minority of senators believe that we can safely weaken the Patriot Act. What if they're wrong? What are they going to tell their constituents if keeping the Patriot Act strong would have prevented that attack? We must urge our leaders to protect us.
Hello and welcome to the new year. Bush has just claimed Iraq, Iran, and North Korea all threaten U.S. security. Bush accused Iraq of oppressing its people, frustrating weapons inspectors, developing weapons of mass destruction, and supporting terrorism. Take a look at what Bush has to say on this controversial issue.
Citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. In this conflict, America faces an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality. Saddam Hussein has placed Iraqi troops and equipment in civilian areas, attempting to use innocent men, women, and children as shields for his own military, a final atrocity against his people. My fellow citizens, the dangers to our country and the world will be overcome. We will pass through this time of peril and carry on the work of peace. We will defend our freedom. We will bring freedom to others, and we will prevail. May God bless our country and all who defend her.
On March 19, 2003, the U.S. launched an invasion of Iraq. Saddam Hussein's military quickly collapsed, Baghdad fell, and Hussein was driven from power.
Now here's Anya Labadeva live in Iraq, bringing us the latest updates on Iraqi conditions. Anya?
Thank you, Sophia. Iraqi insurgents have attacked U.S. troops. However, after 2 years, still no weapons of mass destruction have been discovered. As of now, 100,000 American troops remain in Iraq. However, tension still exists, for although combat has ended, conflict has not. Anya Labadeva reporting live from Iraq, U.S. History News. Sophia?
Now here's Sam with the wrap-up of 2004 and the results of the election.
As Bush's first term draws to an end, the American people remain very divided on and upset about some key issues. The Democrats are still fuming about what they are calling the stolen 2000 presidential election. Hordes of civil libertarians continue to protest the restrictions on citizens' rights imposed by the Patriot Act and the prison at Guantanamo. Anti-war critics are claiming the American public was duped into supporting the Iraq War since no weapons of mass destruction were found. Some are claiming that oil was the real motive for invading Iraq and that the situation has turned into another Vietnam. The American public's feelings towards the business community have been disillusioned by the flagrant corporate fraud at the energy giant Enron and the telecommunications titan WorldCom. And not surprisingly, pro-life and pro-choice advocates have made no progress in finding a working compromise on the contested issue of abortion. Disputes over the rights of gays and lesbians to marry have flared up in San Francisco, Massachusetts, and Portland, Oregon. Lastly, debate over the controversial practice of affirmative action continues as most African Americans and other minorities hail it as an essential effort to reverse centuries of oppression, while others claim that it is a violation of the Constitution's equality laws. The Supreme Court recently ruled that affirmative action is still necessary but should be carefully regulated. Furthermore, it declared, "We expect that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary." And of course, the course of action to deal with these issues will be determined by the winner of the 2004 presidential election. Running for re-election, President George W. Bush of the Republican Party has been challenged by Democratic Senator John Kerry from Massachusetts. Bush's campaign has stressed Bush's policy of tax breaks and his creation of the No Child Left Behind Act, which has transformed the education system. But whether it was for the better or for the worse, it entirely depends on who you ask. Bush's new prescription drug benefit for seniors, although immensely costly, has endeared him to the elderly population. He has also solidified his conservative and religious base by showcasing his opposition to stem cell research and by calling for a new constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage. Most importantly, Bush has cast himself as a decisive war president that has been triumphantly keeping down terrorism. Kerry, on the other hand, has been accused of being indecisive, and although a decorated Vietnam veteran, has been attacked by some veterans groups for his prominent role in the anti-Vietnam campaign during the 1960s, which has unfairly blurred his image as a two-fisted defender of America. Although the Democrats hoped turbulence in Iraq and the substantial losses in jobs during Bush's first term would be enough to bring about a Democratic win, instead, Bush's three-pronged strategy of emphasizing taxes, terror, and moral values has prevailed in a clear-cut victory for Bush. Bush has taken his undisputed victory as a mandate to advance his conservative causes and to make transformational changes in Americans' domestic and foreign policies. Now we will just have to wait and see what his second term brings. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, and that concludes our news segment for today.
You've been watching U.S. History News.
Where we bring you the most accurate and most reliable information.
I'm Jenna Nilsson.
I'm Sophia Chan.
Tune in next year for Oh My!